Hello viewers, welcome to Graphic Online TV. Today we are here with Mr. Leo Anthony Siama, the Yoko's head of legal and prosecution. We are going to delve into some of Yoko's activities, specifically their work on stolen cars, the collaboration they are having with other agencies to stop these murders, and also some of their activities in terms of process of crime and the challenges they are facing, and how, as a country, we can help them to deliver on their mandate. Mr. Leo, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Graphic Online TV.
I'm really grateful. It's always a pleasure to appear on these platforms to be able to educate the public and also put out very vital information out there in terms of things that we have gathered in the course of our investigations and pursuing of our mandate.
So Mr. Leo, first of all, how serious is this issue about stolen cars?
Well, it's very serious, and at this point, as a country, we should be alarmed. Okay. I always start this by referencing the year 2022, when we first formally engaged with our partners. It was a collaborative venture in line with Section 4 of the Yoko Act, the enabling instrument. That is the Economic and Organized Crime Act of 2010. Since that time, we have been on this nationwide operation to retrieve vehicles. Initially, we were given about a list of about 300 vehicles by our partners from the FBI and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And we started the operations then. That particular operation retrieved or had us recover about close to 66 vehicles at the point. And we followed up subsequently with other retrievals. So our retrievals came in two ways. First, the list that we are using in terms of the 300 cars that were given in 2022. And then subsequently, when we are conducting any other investigations of any person of interest, especially high-profile individuals, we try to retrieve vehicles that have a nexus to the criminal activity that they have engaged in. And in so doing, we have been able to retrieve some other vehicles in the course of our investigation. So in total, I would say we have recovered over 100 vehicles since 2022 that have the status of they being stolen.
Well, so can you, not really go into specifics, but can you just give us an idea of the modus operandi of how this thing works? How does it get from the place of destination to here? How does it work?
Well, first of all, we need to highlight the fact that the trade in these vehicles, luxury vehicles, is very lucrative. There is a high demand, and there is also a high value end in terms of the vehicles that are being brought here. In terms of how the vehicles are stolen, it's quite simple. People who have their cars outside most of our two main source countries are the US and Canada. So they leave their cars either unparked or parked, and somebody just breaks in and quickly is brought here. And on other platforms, I've been asked why or how it's easy for it's able to the cars are able to just get into our ports with difficult. Now, let me give you a scenario. If a person is traveling in advanced countries, a person is traveling to maybe another state in the US. He leaves his car at the airport. He goes to the other state. Somebody else comes, picks up his car. He returns 3-4 weeks later to come, and his car is not there. By the time he returns, 3 weeks have passed. 3 weeks is enough for the vehicle to be brought into Ghana, come through our ports with false and forged documentation. And by the time the car is declared as stolen over there, the car is already in the hands of an innocent purchaser. So it's quite easy for the cars to be stolen. But again, I do admit that in the course of our investigations, we found out that there is a high level of inadequate control mechanisms at the ports, and not only at our ports, even the source ports that's from the US, because it should not be that easy for a vehicle without proper documentation should leave. So this also points out to other investigative inquiries that we must pursue. It tells us that people there and people here may all be in collision in terms of how easy it is, because in the conduct of these operations, we have invited persons who have interest in the vehicle, particularly dealers and innocent purchasers, to bring documentation, and they bring all sorts of documentations to us. Most of them are forged. Some of them, you realize, even the documentation they are holding, the VIN number of the vehicle is not the same as the VIN number of the other the documentation that was used to ship the vehicle. So it points out to a lot of other problems in the setup.
So now that we understand how it is, as an innocent buyer, I'm going to buy a vehicle. I mean, I've gone to a garage that this is the car that I want. I've been presented with documents. How am I supposed to know that this is a stolen vehicle? And what am I supposed to do to verify, I mean, the status of the car?
Great. The law places on each individual or anybody who wishes to purchase any car, not even it's not limited to cars, assets. Whatever you are buying, there's a duty on you to go through the necessary due diligence for the purposes of purchasing the car. That is because legally, a person cannot transfer to you a title that he does not have. Exactly. So if someone steals a car, it does not make it his. So if the person is selling that car to you, there is no transfer of title. So what that also means is that if you don't do enough due diligence and you buy such a car, you don't have a cause of action when it is retrieved, because there's an innocent victim out there who also wants their car. In terms of due diligence, there's lots of things that you can do or undertake in trying to ascertain whether these vehicles are stolen or not. Now, over the course of the week, if you've listened to us on the media space, you realize we've given up certain vehicles that are prone to being stolen. We've named the Honda CR-V, we have named the Dodge Ram, we've named the Ford F-150, we've named the Range Rover. We can update that list with a BMW X series, I think a X7 and X8 series, Mercedes-Benz. Most of these vehicles are all high-prone vehicles. So one, if you are in the business or you want to purchase any of those vehicles, you should be careful. Secondly, if you take the price of the vehicles, okay, you should be able to ascertain the fair market value of such a vehicle. If the vehicle's market value is about 400, 500,000, and then a car is being offered to you at 100,000, that obviously should be a red flag. So you should be looking at that. Now, when you are buying from any of these dealers too, you should be sure that you are verifying the person selling to you. So you must request for documentation, ID cards, valid ID cards that you can authenticate. You are also looking at inspecting the bill of lading. You are looking at customs declaration documents from both the US and the Ghanaian ports. You are also looking at the title itself of the vehicle. Okay. You should be looking or requesting for the service history, insurance. All these documentations are important for you to be able to undertake to ascertain these vehicles. Now, the status of those vehicles. Again, when you look at the vehicles themselves physically, if you have the opportunity to conduct a physical inspection, you should look for the placement of the VIN numbers. The VIN number is, I think there are about 3 different locations in every car that a VIN number will be written. I think the dashboard, somewhere around the engine, even what they call the car seats area, okay, they are usually there. So you should realize that these numbers should conform to those on the documentation. They should not be altered, they should not be defaced, or they should not be cleaned, because some of those cars, you realize that these are the problems they come with. Another indicator that you should be looking at is where the car does not have its rear view mirror. That is because that's one of the places where they keep the GPS tracker. So if you see that particular attachment is tampered with or is not there, that's also another red flag. In addition to that, I've spoken about the value of the vehicle and that already. So in addition to that, the service history of the vehicle is also very important. So you need all those documentation to be able to ascertain whether or not the car is stolen. Then when you are done, you can also do an online check. There are certain primary databases or internet sites that you can be able to check these history, service history, and transaction history of the cars. One is, I think, Carfax. You can also verify that from the National Insurance Crime Bureau. They also have a platform where you'll be able to track the history of the vehicle. In addition to that, you can also go a step higher, which is actually what I will recommend at this point, that you contact either Interpol or Yoko. There are various platforms. We have the SMV, which is the Stolen Motor Vehicle Platform, where we can check for a fee the status of the vehicle for you.
How does one access this SMV?
Oh, so that you can walk into the Interpol office and do a formal request, or you can go on their website, and then there's a chain for you to follow, and you follow the request until you get what you want. Alternatively, you can contact Yoko on 0547 419 419, 0547 419 419. Yeah, you can, if you forget anything at all, the 419 419 should remind you of a number to call. And then you call on our assistance, and we also take it from there and help you out.
So this has to do with the person buying the vehicle.
Yes.
When you started this exercise, I mean, from 2022,
yes,
when you really intensified this exercise of collaborating with your sister agencies, there were the car dealers were saying that they were complaining about victimization, lack of information. Is there anything that Yoko is doing to collaborate with these garage owners on how to also? It's also possible that they were also innocent purchasers. Is there anything that you are doing in terms of collaboration with them?
Well, the law only, and I'm dealing with the law at this point. The law only recognizes you as an innocent purchaser if you have exhausted your due diligence. If you have not, the law cannot possibly see you as an innocent purchaser. Most importantly, we have not conducted this exercise arbitrarily. What we have done is that we have given these dealers the opportunity to come forward, bring documentation, and prove to the effect that they have been able to, or they were able to buy these vehicles properly and on the right platform. When they usually turn up, you realize that the documentation that they provide are mostly forged. The documentation that they bring have altered VIN numbers. With some, you realize there are even cancellations on them. And some, the VIN numbers are totally different. The buyers, there are fictitious names, there are things that you cannot treat. And some of the documents, even on the face of it, you realize they are forged. So, and what we have done in the past is, in the past or since 2002, is we do a lot of stakeholder engagement. I think somewhere in 2023, we had an engagement with some of the car dealers. They came to our office here. We had a very fruitful engagement. Subsequently, anytime we've had the opportunity to be on platforms like yours, we are very educative. We put out the information out there in terms of the red flags to look at, the due diligence that you ought to do, and so on and so forth.
One last question on this aspect. How damaging it is for, I mean, you watch the international news and you are saying that, Ghana is a hotbed for these kind of vehicles. In terms of reputation-wise, in terms of our image, how damaging it is for us to be classified as such?
Your question is actually even answers itself. It is very damaging for us to be labeled around this time as a hotbed or the ultimate destination for stolen cars. I don't think it does us any good, because then the average person driving his car will now be seen suspiciously with some eyes. That's even on a personal level. But internationally, it becomes a problem, because it erodes investor confidence in us. It would encourage our partners to take certain actions against us in terms of trade agreements and all those things. It has ripple effects. So if we do not check it now, it will become a bigger problem than we anticipate.
How difficult it is for Yoko? Because, not to mention any particular case, we hear of instances where Yoko, I mean, try to do its investigation, people mass up at your offices and all that. The sort of collaboration that you need from Ghanaians to help you deal with these kind of issues. How difficult it is, and what sort of collaboration do you need from Ghanaians? Yeah.
Well, I must say it can be very difficult and challenging. But before I go to the challenges, I must point out, and again, I'm using this platform because we have the opportunity now. Yoko is not in the business of sending one particular individual to come and retrieve cars, because we realized over the past couple of years that some unscrupulous individuals are going around in the name of Yoko, claiming they are retrieving stolen vehicles and actually stealing people's vehicles. We are not in that business. If anybody comes to you that he's retrieving a stolen vehicle, ensure that you have proof of his identity. If you are not sure about the person's identity or the people's identity who are coming there to take a vehicle from you, call on our lines. Again, our 05447419419 is there. You can call and verify which people or the persons that are there to pick up the car from you. Now, in terms of
have you instances?
Yeah, we've had a couple of instances, yes, and they are all currently under investigations.
Okay.
Yes, but because they are under, there are not things that we want to disclose at this point. And in terms of the challenges, like you rightly mentioned, yes, in Ghana, it's actually our culture. If a person has a problem, we gather around and we support. I think we've extended that. Our Ghanaian people have extended that in most of our cases, and at times it becomes a problem because we at Yoko are not interested in individuals or trying to personalize issues when we are talking about this problem. We have a clear mandate. It is to recover the proceeds of crime. And under that mandate and in line with Section 4 of the Yoko Act, which tells us to collaborate with our foreign partners, we execute that mandate. So we see a vehicle, we believe it's tainted, we check the database, it is part of the stolen ones. Okay. We go on and make our efforts to retrieve it. But in terms of the challenges, another one has to do with the complexities involved in terms of ownership. That also becomes a problem. You have, in one of the instances, one of the operations, we went there and upon a tip-off by other car sellers, they whisked away the car. So these are all challenges because, again, it's making the work difficult. And by extension, it's giving us may give us ultimately a bad light in front of our partners.
Okay. Now, one other important aspect of Yoko's work is to recover proceeds of crime. Can you just share light on that? People don't really understand the mandate of Yoko. Okay. Sometimes they tend to confuse your mandate with other agencies like the OSP, even with the police. Okay. Can you just share a little bit light of what Yoko actually does and how distinct is your work from other agencies? Okay,
so let me do a little bit of history here. As far back as 1982, PNDC Law 2 set up the NIC, National Investigations Committee, and it was supposed to look into the activities of primarily public servants. Okay. So if you're a public servant and you had a certain amount of money in your account that exceeded your income, it was subject to confiscation. And NIC somewhere in the 90s, 94 I think, became the SFO. The SFO became Yoko with an expanded mandate. Okay. Under Act 804, which is the establishing instrument of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, and particularly under Sections 3 and 4 of the Act, it tells us our mandate. It is basically to investigate economic and organized crime, investigate and prevent economic and organized crime, and on authority of the Attorney General, prosecute these offenses alongside the recovery of the proceeds of crime. And this mandate extends to activities that the state has an interest in. So, for instance, if the state has an interest in a state corporation or company, and any wrongdoing or unlawful activity goes there that occasions a loss to the state, Yoko has a mandate to investigate and recover the proceeds of crime. We look at cyber activity, we look at human trafficking, we look at generally any serious offense. And the Yoko Act under Section 74 defines any serious offense as any act that, when committed, can land you in prison custody for 12 months and above. So any offense that carries a minimum penalty of 12 months and above, that is a serious offense, and automatically it triggers our mandate. And the mandate is generally to confiscate the proceeds of crime. So when you see Yoko out there, it is not because we are arbitrarily going after people or we want to settle scores or political scores. No, there's a professional team here that ensures that we bring into light or give effect to the mandate as contained in the Yoko Act.
Did you have a mandate that has to do with lifestyle audits?
Yes. One of the beautiful things about the Yoko Act is that Yoko Act and the establishment of this office is that it gives us the mandate to also investigate money laundering. And if you look at the text in terms of the contents of the Money Laundering Act under Section 1.3, that's a semblance of a lifestyle audit. So if a person is displaying certain assets or level of lifestyle wealth that does not correspond with his known income, that is a ground for us to conduct investigations. And if the investigations establish what we believe to be that his income actually does not fit what he's spending or what he's displaying, then those assets are subject to confiscation.
What would trigger that investigation? You said you need to, when you see it, or somebody can walk in.
Lots of things. Someone can petition. A person can petition. An informant, a whistleblower, a call. At times, we actually even do our own, in the course of our own investigations, a person of interest comes up, and for some reason, things don't add up, and that will trigger a lifestyle audit investigation. So there are several ways. It's not limited to one avenue.
In terms of the process of crime, I remember sometime, I was 2 years ago, I was there with the then Attorney General, and he was, I think, to inaugurate your board, and he was very particular about how you're able to recover proceeds of crime. How can you just give us a state of how it is? How do you have, not particularly putting a number to it, but how far have you fared in that?
I put this across on one other platform quite recently that given the limited resources that we have, I would say as an institution, not to write our own exam and mark it, but I think we have done really well, especially because of the limited funds we have, the limited staff that we have, because it's a specialized agency. So you need to be able to train staff to a certain level. So you are looking at that, and you are looking at the challenges on the ground in trying to retrieve these assets. We live in a country where it's possible to buy a piece of land, build on it, live in it for 10 years without any documentation, and nobody comes to infringe on your happiness. If that house is now a subject of a criminal investigation and by extension a proceed of crime, it becomes very difficult because there's an absence of documentation to place the ownership documentarily in the hands of the person of interest. So that is a massive challenge. You understand? Because you don't just go to court and tell the judge that this person took money to that house. No. And then I mentioned the complexities involved in terms of the structures. Somebody will steal money or rid the state of money, and then buy a property or buy an asset somewhere, register the asset in the name of his relative, friend, son, or whatever. And when you have to now go the extra step of trying to go through and do a lifestyle audit, for instance, on that other relative to ascertain whether or not that person has the capabilities in terms of known income to buy that property. So we have a lot of challenges. So in terms of the recovery of the proceeds of crime, we've done well. I think the figures, though not offhand, are in the papers. We have done quite well. We have done a steady improvement over the past 3 years, especially.
Is it in the millions?
It's in the millions, in the hundreds. I think in the past 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, it should have crossed hundreds of millions. Because I think we did in excess of 100 million last year. I'm not really sure about the figures for last 2 years and things, but it was I think 53, 75 over 100. I think so, in the past 3 years. So it tells us that despite our little resources and staff strength, and then every other challenge that we are facing, we are doing significantly.
I want to find out, are you allowed to keep some of it for your operations?
Unfortunately, that's one of the biggest challenges Yoko has. Our Enabling Act does not allow us to have a retention policy or retention for the unlike the OSP and other agencies that have a retention policy. Yoko doesn't have anything. We recover for the state goes to the state. Even in the cases where we recover for victims of more or less, let me say, private crimes, everything goes back to the victims. So Yoko does not retain anything. So it makes our work very difficult because at the end of the day, you are expending taxpayers' money to conduct investigations and recover these things, and there is no retention for the agency
Have you
itself.
made any effort to see if you can amend your act?
Yes, we are on course. We have in the pipeline a new act. I'm told it has been sent to cabinet. We are hoping that sooner rather than later it is pushed through Parliament. They approve it, and let's see where it goes from there.
So finally, what do you have to say to Ghanaians in terms of how they can collaborate with Yoko to help you effectively discharge your mandates?
So first of all, I've given our number out. Collaboration is key. Okay. Collaboration does not restrict Yoko to only our international and local partners, but every stakeholder, and we are all stakeholders, because ultimately these things come around to affect all of us. So if you have any information on anything, any crime that has been committed, our doors are always open. We have an office that actually takes in complaints via phone, website, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, now X, any platform that you can think about, we are there. But most importantly, I want to put this message out there, particularly because the topic that we are discussing today has to be about stolen vehicles. Irrespective of what documentation that you may have, or how the car or vehicle got into the ports, or you paying duty, it does not legitimize the nature or the status of the vehicle. It does not make the car, it does not wash away the fact that the car is stolen. When that happens, there is no remedy for you if you have not done your due diligence before purchasing the car. Even if you register such a car under comprehensive insurance, the insurance company is not obligated to pay because the vehicle is stolen. So I would encourage citizens and the general public to ensure that when they are making such purchases, they exhaust the due diligence avenues before buying the vehicles. In terms of collaboration, everyone is a stakeholder, and we encourage the public to come up with information for us to be able to effectively do our work.
Thank you very much for your time.
I'm really grateful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, viewers. We've had a very fruitful discussion with Mr. Siama, the head of legal and prosecution of Yoko. Our discussion basically centered on stolen cars and how Yoko is working hand in hand with other agencies to combat this menace. As you heard from Mr. Siama, you have to be very, very vigilant. You have to do all your due diligence if you buy a car so that you don't fall foul of the law. Thank you.
For more news, please visit our website, graphic.com.gh, or follow us on Facebook at Daily Graphic and on YouTube and Twitter at GraphicGH.
Subscribe now.